It's been about 30 years ago. I come down to your house in Columbus and I make the mistake of getting on a dirt bike and I roll it over or on its side and scrape up my arm. We have to go to the neighbor's house to get a Band-Aid. The point being is we've both been around a long time. And folks here in Indiana, they know your career. You've driven just about everything, everywhere. I guess the question is, it's still fairly new. How did you get dragged into drag racing?
I think, as all of our fans here know, I'm a driver first. I'm not a great spectator for very long. So when Leah and I started dating, I wouldn't even go in the crew chief lounge when she would debrief after a run because it's a small lounge in front of the trailer, and I didn't feel like it was appropriate for me to be there. But she finally talked me into going in there one day, and you start listening to the conversations. Like a run is less than 4 seconds. And she's talking about this for 20 minutes with the crew chiefs, and they're talking about all kinds of different things that I don't know anything about. But literally listening to her talk about having what she had to do driving during the run, eventually that gets the best of you, and you're like, I think I know what that should feel like, but I just don't know what that feels like. So I ended up going down to Frank Hawley's driving school in the winter one year and started in a super comp car and went to his alcohol car, and next thing you know, I'm going to Vegas and testing in her car, which was, after 10 runs of testing her top fuel car, I realized it was the dumbest thing I'd ever done because I was not ready to drive a car that was that quick yet. And so I got hooked up with the McPhillips family to drive in top alcohol and ran 2 years ago full-time in that. And toward the end of the year, Leah's like, I'm ready to start a family. So we started making plans for that, and I guess part of the way through the alcohol season, she was like, do you want to be included on the list of drivers for next year? And I said, absolutely not. I don't need to be doing that. I said, I'm just getting used to this alcohol car. And in the fall, it was coming time to having to make a decision on who was going to go in the car. And she asked me again, she goes, do you want to be on the list? I said, yeah, I think it's okay to put me on the list, but 100%, it was not my decision. It was her and her crew chief. They were the two that made the call on who was going to drive the car and replace her during this. And I told them, I said, you need to make sure that whoever we pick for this is the right person for the company, and what's going to give us the best opportunity to be successful. So I just remember getting the call and come in the trailer, and they're sitting there and they got grins on their faces, and they're like, well, guess who's driving the car next year? And I'm like, who? And they said, like, you. I'm like, oh, are you sure? That's a good idea. I'm like, yeah, that's what we come to the conclusion. So run as a rookie last year and had a terrible rookie season, but get rookie of the year out of it, and here we are this year and getting ready for the U.S. Nationals, and we're second in points and have won 2 races this year. So it's amazing what one off season and what the team was able to do to the car to get it sorted out, how much better we are right now.
Are you still just the replacement driver?
I am. I'm still the replacement driver. She won't sit there in the middle of the season and make a change, and I don't know if next year is going to be the year. She's the only one that knows that. She did test the car after the Richmond, Virginia event. And I would say by looking at the expression on her face when she got back to the pit, it's probably going to be sooner than later. But there's nothing officially been said. She hasn't made a decision 100% yet. So she's still trying to figure out, does she want a second child? Does she want to drive the race car? What does she want to do? But literally all along through this whole process, it has been her decision on timing of what and when. And as long as she wants me to drive the car, I'll drive the car till she's ready to get back in it.
Would you ever race against her?
She wants that. She would love nothing more than us to add a second top fuel team to the 2-car stable that we already have with Matt Hagan in the funny car, which I thought was a terrible idea initially. I'm like, there's no positive for me in this whatsoever. If I win, I get kicked to the couch for who knows how many days. If I lose, I get all my buddies and everybody saying I got my butt kicked by my wife. So to me, there was no win for me in this, but she has assured me that it would be fine, and she actually would like for us to have the opportunity to race together, which Still not sure I'm on board with that, but if that's what she wants to do and the opportunity presents itself one day, we'll do that.
Well, you got yourself a ride by also becoming a dad.
Yeah, I got the bonus plan. I feel like I was the one that hit the lottery in this equation. She got 9 months or 10 months of misery of being sick and carrying a child, and I'm the one that got a ride out of it and got an awesome son out of it.
Dominic's not quite one yet, right?
He's 8.5 months right now.
So what's it like to have him at the track, and how does that family formula work right now?
I honestly didn't know what to think about having him at the racetrack. I always wanted him at the track, but I just didn't know what that feeling would be like. And I remember the first race that we got to take him to was the Pro Superstar Shootout in Bradenton the week of the Super Bowl, which was before the NHRA season opened. And we kind of used that as a test session to get ready for the season. And we were down there 5 days, and I think we made 14 runs with the car, and it made it down track 3 of the 14 runs. The rest of the passes were aborted because of problems. And I remember being frustrated one day, and I told the guys, I said, I'm going to go back and get a sandwich at the motorhome real quick. And I remember walking in there and looking in his crib, and he looked up at me, and it took him a couple seconds, and he just smiled real big. And that was the first time that I realized how much of an impact Dominic was going to have in my life. To sit there and be so stressed out and frustrated with the race car, and literally to look at him smile and sit there and think, you know what, that race car doesn't even matter right now. I think it was the first time I was able to really put it all in perspective and realize that, you know, my whole professional racing career, my emotions, my attitude were dictated by the success of our race car and how we were performing on the racetrack. And if we had a bad race, however long that duration was till the next race, if the race went bad, I was miserable. If the race went good, I was happy for a day or two, and then you switch gears and focus on trying to figure out how to do it again. Dominic has added a layer to the equation that you don't know till you get involved in it. But it's fun with NHRA, the fact of our hospitality pit and trailer are in between Matt's pit and my pit, and he is literally in that. If he's in that trailer, he's 30 feet away from me at all times. And I have plenty of opportunities during the day to sneak over there and see him. And like I said, he's the happiest little boy I've ever seen. I mean, he's always smiling, he's laughing all the time, and just eye contact and watching him smile when he sees you, it makes a good run better. If the car's not running bad, it's okay, it's fine, because he just puts it all in perspective of what having that family means.
Your dad was such a big part of your racing career and still is. So have you thought about the kind of racing dad that you want to be already?
Well, we don't know on his side what he's going to want to do yet. And the thing that Lee and I for sure are on the exact same page about is, you know, all of our circle track buddies are like, when are you getting him a quarter midget? All of our drag racing friends are like, when are you getting him a junior dragster? And the one thing that Lee and I have literally had a 60-second discussion, because we were immediately on the same page of this, is that motorsports is not something you do halfway. It's not like playing Little League baseball and you get a participation ribbon whether you win or lose. Motorsports is something that is dangerous, and if you're going to do it, especially with 2 racing parents, if he's going to do it, he has to do it right. And if he's going to do it right, you have to be all in. So as far as we're concerned, the only way we're doing this is if and when he says, I want to do this and I want to do it right. And if he tells us that, we'll be all in with him and on his side on it, but he has to tell us that that's what he wants to do. We're not going to sit there and get him something and say, hey, try this and see what you think. He has to make that decision for himself.
I've always told people that Tony Stewart can drive any car on any track, anywhere, but that was primarily thinking in terms of circles or maybe at least street and road courses. What is the biggest difference or challenge for you going from something where you have to concentrate for 400 or 500 miles versus going over 300 miles an hour in less than 5 seconds?
It is. I saw an interview when I started dating Leah, and I thought the question that they asked her was really a good question. I didn't understand it till I really got an opportunity to be involved in the sport. But someone asked her what she thought the difference was between a NASCAR Cup car and a top fuel car as far as the intensity of it? And her answer, I think, was brilliant. She said, what they do in 3.5 hours, we do in 3.5 seconds. And I even told our Cup drivers our last year with SHR, they were asking me about what it was like to drive the top fuel car. And I said, you know how when we're racing, we make split-second decisions? They're like, yeah. I said, now take that split-second decision you just made and make another split-second decision off of that split-second decision. I said, that's how fast you have to react to this. It is just that intensity crammed into a 3.5-second run. There's no breaks, there's no rest. I mean, and you shouldn't have a break in a 3.5-second run, but the intensity that you have in that 3.5 seconds is the intensity that you would manage during a 3.5-hour race or a 400 or 500 mile Cup race. It's just a different dynamic. So literally, I would say 90% of the things that made me good in a stock car or an Indy car or sprint car, you can take 90% of those things, put it in a box, tape it, and just write with a Sharpie, save on the box, and shove the box off to the side. You're not going to use 90% of those skills. 10% of them come into play occasionally, but it's just a different skill set that you have to have, and it's definitely a different mindset that you have to drive a top fuel car or funny car or anything in drag racing.
Does that make it even more rewarding that you have risen to a very high competitive level and yet another avenue of racing?
I think so. I think there's a lot of pride to be had in that. It's every time we've done something different, whether it was going from sprint cars to both IRL and NASCAR at the same time on partial schedules. But I remember the people that said, "Oh, he won't figure that out," and we did. And we've driven so many different things in between all that, and there's always that one or two people that are like, "Ah, he was good in these, but he's not gonna be good in this. He won't figure it out." And to finally win 2 races this year and have had weeks where we led the point standings and be in the top 2 in points right now, there is a lot of pride in that. But I think that pride doesn't necessarily stem from the past as much as the pride comes from my number one teacher is my wife. And to be able to, and we wondered what that was going to be like. I wondered for sure. Her crew chiefs and I have had conversations when Leah wasn't in the room of going, I don't know what this learning process is going to be like, having your wife try to teach you how to drive the car, but it was literally the best thing I could have asked for. I mean, she knows the standard of what I like to operate at as a race car driver, and she wants the same thing for herself. So the way that she explained everything, she knows I don't want to be 98% accurate with it. I want to be 100% accurate with it. So she did such an amazing job, and to be able to go through that learning curve with my wife and learn from her, that's probably, in my opinion, the most rewarding part. It's not the end goal of winning races and being successful in it and being the top 5 in reaction time in the class. It's the fact that I got to do it with someone that means the most to me and go through that learning curve with her and from her.
So the U.S. Nationals will be your home track. We know how much it meant to you to win the Brickyard 400. I know you would have loved to win the Indy 500. So what would the U.S. Nationals mean to you? What does it mean as you get ready to come here?
Well, the fact that it's not just another NHRA race on the schedule. I mean, it is our Super Bowl for drag racing. So to have the biggest race of the year an hour from home, just like Indianapolis Motor Speedway was to me, all my friends, all my family come for the event. To win that, I mean, that's a crown jewel event. It doesn't matter what form of motorsports. Anytime you can win a crown jewel event in any form of motorsports, it's huge. So if we have the opportunity and can get to the finals and win the U.S. Nationals, I mean, that would be an amazing feeling. So, and especially to be able to celebrate with your friends and family like we did at the Brickyard. I mean, that was the best part of winning the 2 Brickyards that we won, was having our family there and our friends there to celebrate with. It just... that's a feeling you don't get anywhere else.
What else do you want to do still?
Win a championship. That's next. So, it's, the hard thing is this was never part of a master plan, and a lot of the steps weren't. I mean, when I was young, I never dreamed of being a NASCAR driver or an IndyCar driver. I felt like it was so far out of reach that it was never a realistic option or possibility. For sure, getting involved in drag racing was furthest thing from the radar, but I'm loving doing what I'm doing now. But man, to win a U.S. Nationals would be special. If we could add a championship to that mix and put that with the USAC Triple Crown and Cup Championships and IndyCar Championship, IROC Championships, that would put us in a section all by herself, I feel like, in motorsports. That, you know, this era of motorsports, drivers are so focused on one specific form of racing that they have one path to get to that goal, and that's all they focus on. You don't see a lot of drivers. There's not a lot of Kyle Larsons and Chase Briscoes and Christopher Bells, you know, Alex Bowman. There's not a lot of these guys that go outside of their full-time job in motorsports to do something different. And you know, you're not going to see somebody probably go as a Cup champion and go win an IndyCar championship, let alone if we could win an NHRA championship in Top Fuel. So just to have that opportunity, I feel like, is a really cool accomplishment for us as a driver at the end of the day. But if you pull that off and you win that, that's something that may never be accomplished again in motorsports. So just to have that opportunity, I think, is pretty cool.
Tony, thanks for the visit. It's great to see you again.
You too. I'm glad. If I'd have known we were going to bring up 30 years ago, I'd have brought Band-Aids today with me, just to make sure if we fell off our chairs, because we could do that at our age now.
And this time I wasn't chasing you down, and you weren't refusing to talk to me either.
Yeah, I'm glad. I would love to go back and redo some of that stuff. Whew.
Well, I think people can appreciate just how far your career has gone and so many things that you've done. And you mentioned, you know, you'd like to add another crown, if you will. But I mean, you are already one of the greatest drivers ever, unquestioned.